Okay, today I will be sharing my extremely ambitious plans of what I'll be reading in the future, very long term. How's it going, guys? It is Devin with Starting Point, and today I will be sharing my list of books that I really want to read within the next couple of years, and the main series I want to get into in this upcoming decade. Now, I have not read a lot of books. I really just started getting back into books like March of this year when I reread the Harry Potter series with my girlfriend. And, it made me fall back in love with books because, I read Harry Potter when I was in 8th grade, and that was during quarantine. I grinded those books out, and then I kind of stopped after that. But, now I think I want to stay committed into reading. That's why I started this channel, is to stay committed and stay focused, and to also share my experience with myself and maybe others potentially. But yeah, I have a very ambitious list here today, and a lot of the stuff I won't be sniffing for a few years. Now, this channel is basically been all Stephen King so far, and it's going to stay like that for a little bit because that's the first, author I really want to knock down is Stephen King. I want to start with the classics first, such as Misery and Cujo and The Shining and Carrie, which I've all read at this point. I did a review for Misery, Cujo, and Shining. If you'd like to watch that, then please go into my channel and watch an in-depth review of those and my opinions. But then you got books like Carrie, different seasons. The reason I want to read Carrie is because, not only is it Stephen King's first book, but obviously it's one of his most popular books of all time, even though it's only his first. And, it's just such an iconic story. It's such a quick read, and it's something I can get to really fast like that, I'm already like a fifth way through the book, and I've read it for 30 minutes. So it's very quick. Different Seasons is, 4 iconic stories, probably his most popular novella, book ever. And because 2 of them are like, award-winning movies. Books like The Shawshank Redemption and The Body, which is also Stand By Me. The other one's called At Pupil, I remember, but I forgot what the 4th one is called. Yeah, I'll get to it. Pet Sematary, I watched Pet Sematary when I was 5 years old, and that movie literally scarred me. The scene when that one old lady was on the bed and came, that gave me nightmares, I think till now. And still, even just hearing the music in the movie and just watching it, it just gives me a pit in my stomach. I still get scared of that movie. And I heard the book was way scarier too, so I'm very excited to read that because I heard it's his scariest book. Now The Stand, I bought The Stand for $25 before I even read a Stephen King page, but I've been pushing this back for a little bit just because it's a big read, it's a long read, over 1,100 pages, and I'm really excited to get into that because that's his big epic. It's always considered, top 10, at least top 3. A lot of people consider it his greatest book, so of course I'm going to read that. I'll get to that in probably a month, and it'll probably take around that same amount of time to read, if I'm being honest. Then I'll be reading the Lord of the Ring books, which will include The Hobbit and, obviously the 3 books, and then the Silmarillion, and the Silmarillion, the basically the follow-up, just fleshing out the world. So I'll be reading all 5 of those books, and, I've already seen the movies, and, I enjoy the movies quite a bit. I watched them just 2 years ago. And I really come to appreciate the movies, so I think the books are definitely better. Also, I heard it's a great introduction to fantasy because basically every fantasy book ripped off of them for the next 50 years. But then after Lord of the Rings, I think I will read maybe a couple, maybe 1 or 2 Stephen King books, depending on where I am. Something like The Dead Zone, Firestarter, maybe the Bachman books, some short, probably around the Misery or Cujo range, something I could read in probably less than a week, hopefully. And then I will be starting the Hunger Games with my girlfriend in mid-October, and then, we'll knock those books out pretty quickly, I'd assume. Definitely by November, early November, maybe late, depending on how long she takes. But then I'll be going back to Stephen King books, and this time I'll be starting my road to the Dark Tower. This is the whole reason I decided to read King in the first place, was to, I wanted to get to know King. I wanted to know his writing style. I wanted to like read all of his classics before I got to the Dark Tower, because Dark Tower is every single book in King's universe connected into one. So I really wanted to get a good background before I got to the Dark Tower. So then I'll be doing like a kind of extended read, not too bad, but like nothing outrageous. Some people have those like 30 book extended reads that are just way too much. Just nah. Salem's Lot, I heard, has a lot of ties with the Dark Tower, but it's also like a classic Stephen King book about vampires. I've never been into vampires too much, so I'm a little nervous to read it because I don't know how much I'll be like interested in them, but I'm assuming it's going to be still great. I heard you have to read it to read the Dark Tower, because in like book 5 or something, it's, spoils a lot. Now this should come no question, this is his most iconic book, one of the most iconic, villains ever. And it does have times with the Dark Tower, I heard. Something about a turtle. But I'll be reading it, and, that's another big read. I want to space it out in between The Stand, because those are two behemoth of books. They are a little intimidating at first, so once I get into them, I'm sure that I'll just love it. Eyes of the Dragon is another Dark Tower tie-in, and it deals with Randall Flagg again. And I heard it's like, a short read, like a kind of a young adult, fantasy book. So, obviously I should definitely read it, because I feel like it's be something I'll enjoy. And, why not? We got Desperation Regulators. They go hand in hand. They are, I don't even know what they're about, but I remember one's like an alternate version of the other, and one was like made by Richard Bachman, his alternative name or something. And, I've heard a lot of bad things about these books, but I've heard a lot of good things about these books. So I'm a little scared, but besides that, I think I should be fine. So we'll be good. Insomnia. I think it's about obviously it's about a man who suffers from insomnia, but I think that's all I know really right now. I'll probably know more about it by the time I get to it, but for now I just know that it is Dark Tower, and it's essential apparently. Talisman and Black House, they obviously have a lot of Dark Tower ties, and they're very split in terms of people who like it and people who don't like it. I actually have Black House in my house. I don't know how I got it, but I have it. So that's pretty cool. I don't have to blow $10 on another book. And then we'll have, anything else I need for the Dark Tower. I'm thinking probably like the short stories, like The Men in the Yellow Coats, or whatever short, like something in the Thing in the Hearts of Atlantis. And then, stuff like The Mist, other novellas, maybe other books I just want to read. But then after that, after I get into like the things I want to read, I will be getting into, the Dark Tower series itself. I'll get into The Gunslinger, I'll get into, Drawing of the Three, I will get into Wastelands, and then I will get into Wizard and Glass. Now, I don't know how long this will take me. Probably a few weeks each, probably a couple months. During the winter I am busy with wrestling, and then so I think I'll definitely have a slower pace than I am right now, since it's summer and I have way more time to do stuff. But after Wizard and Glass, I'll take that little break in between 4 and 5. I heard that was like, pretty essential. Things like The Wind Through the Keyhole, which is like the interlude between 4 and 5 also. But then after that, I should have all the things I need, and then I'll finish up the Dark Tower series with like Wolves of the Calla, Songs of Susanna, and the Dark Tower itself. After that, I'll probably just sprinkle a little King throughout like the rest of my reading journey, like 11/22/63, Under the Dome, just other ones, Doctor Sleep, just the ones that are, really great, because I intend to read most of the good ones he's written. Maybe not the bad ones. I don't know if I'm that committed. Then we got like stuff like 11/22/63, which I heard is his most like well-rounded book, which is just, suspense and science fiction and all that stuff, romance, things like that. I heard is a great book, so obviously I gotta read it. Dune, I don't know much about it, but I just heard it's like, it's a classic book that you have to read apparently. So I'll definitely read it. I know about the movie. I know it probably takes place in a desert or something, so I'll get to that. I don't know about the sequels. There's a lot of them, and a lot of them don't really look like they're appealing to me. After that, I think the goal is to get into Brandon Sanderson, which is, fantasy, and I heard he has some really good books. I'll probably get into the whole maybe Cosmere thing once I get there, but that's a long ways from now. But for now, like stuff like Mistborn trilogy, the first one, and then obviously the thing that caught my eye the most is the Stormlight Archive, which is basically his version of the Dark Tower. So I'm really excited to get into stuff like that. And then we got other series like Story of Ice and Fire. I've never watched Game of Thrones. Usually mostly because I was like too young, but then now I'm kind of scared because I kind of want to read the books first, but I'm a long ways away from reading the books. And also I'm really hoping it's finished by then. I'm really hoping he releases like another one. Hopefully the longer I wait, the bigger chance I have of getting the new ones without being like old and dying. So then I don't know where to go from there. Stuff like probably Dune maybe. Obviously, since I haven't read like any adult fantasy series, then I'm not very experienced. I don't really know where to go from next. But all I know is that the final boss of all books, all fantasy, is obviously the Wheel of Time, which, really just interests me because of how thick the books are and how, huge the universe is. So obviously intrigues you because, there are 14 behemoths of books. And, obviously it's a challenge, but, that sounds really fun. So, and I heard it was actually a good story too, so I definitely gotta get on that. But in the meantime, I don't think I'll get to Wheel of Time until at least 2025. But yeah, that is my, multiple year reading plan as far as reading plans go. Obviously, this list will change in due time. Obviously, there will be series I want to read. There might be some things on here that I don't want to read, or maybe some I push back a little bit. So you never quite know. You can never tell the future. But I just wanted to give a quick, little outline into where, my mind is at in terms of reading. And I hope you enjoyed. This is just a short little video, a change of pace, but I will be getting back to you regularly. I don't know if this will be before the Shining video or after the Shining video, but if not, then Carrie will be coming soon. If it's before the Shining, then obviously the Shining will be coming next. So look forward to those videos, and I will see you guys soon. Bye. The TV.